let's get started here. So tell me about the origin of Matty G's.
Matty G's, I've always had a second job when in college and when I was in the minor leagues of waiting tables, and it's kind of wound up being a passion of mine. So, long story short, is in 2008 through 10, had Italian restaurants.
Okay.
But then the crash happened, obviously, so had to rebound. And back in 2016, kind of formed Matty G's, and we've been going strong ever since.
And was that your first entrepreneurial experience?
As far as restaurants, yes, I had a construction company for 20 years from 2004 through the end of 2023. But I had spent some time with Miller Brewing Company as both a chain account manager and an analyst. So my background has always been somewhat around that restaurant field.
Mhm.
And so, like, my parents never understood why I went into restaurants. They're like, why would you? My dad always told me, stay away from retail. And the reality was once they saw me in the restaurant, they knew that was my fit for life.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have a passion for it. I love it. I literally wake up and sleep thinking about Matty G's, but that's what we do in in a franchise and in a restaurant business.
Yeah. I'm a strong believer in you have to have passion for what you do because it gets you through the tough times. And,
Absolutely.
if you hate what you're doing, it's really easy to quit.
Very true.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, no, there's obviously highs and lows with every business, but in
Right.
the restaurant business, there's no day that's the same. Every day
Right.
is different. And so you better be prepared for those tough days and keep a smile on your face because as not only an owner, but the franchisee or a franchisor, you have to make sure that you stay calm and that
Yeah.
you stay positive, even when it seems like you should just shut the door.
Right, right. Matt, you could have done any food business. Why steak burgers and lobster rolls?
Actually, so I started with an Italian restaurant back in
Mhm.
'08 through 10. I had success there, but then the crash. And then honestly, I love sushi. And so Matty G started with as SoCo Sushi and Gastropub. And
Okay.
we wound up doing that and realized with fish costs and labor costs and my knife skills weren't up to par. It really wasn't a fit. And then we just kind of said, my wife and I had a tough night. We went for a walk, and 20 minutes later, we're like, let's do burgers. That's what I always loved. That's who I am. And let's do
Hmm.
sports because that's my life. And
Right.
so, as a kid, I knew everybody's batting average and, I was that sports nerd.
Huh?
And
Likewise.
yeah, exactly. And so the passion that I have for restaurants also is in sports. So what we did was combine it. And my dad actually, when growing up, had a sports baseball card shop and memorabilia. And
Oh.
so when we decided to stop doing sushi and go to burgers, he's like, I got tons of junk in the garage. We could put that up. And to this day, actually, he's 78 and he's the one who puts up all the decor in the restaurants. It makes it look like a mini Hall of Fame when you walk in.
Oh, wow. Now, because you have multiple locations, have you guys varied the memorabilia based on the location, or is it a central theme of a particular town or city?
We try to accommodate the city in a sense where like we're going into Houston, we'll obviously have some Astros and probably back in the day Oilers and that kind of thing.
All right.
But and Rockets, of course, don't forget. But in general, it's more of the baseball, football, hockey theme, some basketball, but big
Right.
fans, great memorabilia comes from the Cubs, from the New York teams, from the Boston teams. So yeah, you'll see like Garrigan, Ruth, and Mantle. You'll see Sandy Koufax, but then you'll also see like Ditka, the Bears,
All right.
And being from Detroit, you'll see more Detroit stuff than you will anywhere else. So the Gordie Howe and things like that. So he finds these knickknacks. It's
Right.
amazing what people have kept through the years.
Yeah.
And so he puts them on display. And being that we are sports fans and have gone to multiple Hall of Fames, he kind of tries to create that with these little knickknacks and pictures slash helmets, gloves, you name it, with the description that allows people to kind of just walk around and just learn about sports that they might not have known or
Right.
remember.
Well, Matt, being a sports guy, a fan from Detroit, you have a lot to smile about now these days, since like three of the teams are winning big time.
Oh, it's amazing. Like, honestly, this has been like one of the best years of sports for me.
Right.
Although my parents went to Michigan State, I was always either Michigan or Michigan State fan, depending on who was better. And watching the Wolverines win the football has been a lifelong kind of like dream type of thing to watch that. It
Right.
was so exciting. And then to have the Tigers doing well last year. My dad and I, we don't get to talk as much as we want,
Hmm.
but it's really cool because once again, sports brings you
Yeah.
brings you together. And so we were texting or calling inning by inning watching the Tigers last year. So it's just very cool.
Yeah. Well, sports brings people together. And I like how you've integrated this into your restaurants because ultimately people, when they go to the restaurant, it's not just about the food, it's about the experience and the feeling you get when you go.
Absolutely. Like when we try to do this, today, not to downgrade today's society, but you watch people eat a family of four and the kids are both on on their phones texting. And even myself and my wife, we try not to do it, but we do. You
Hmm.
get those texts. But the goal with Matty G's was to kind of have a family environment where like the grandfather who might not be cool to the grandkid, but
Right.
he can go, hey, Sandy Koufax is up there. I watched when, he pitched in the season, or I saw Mickey Mantle. He was the greatest player. Some say Mays' greatest catch, but this
Right.
or that. By telling those stories, it kind of makes families come together. Because I
Sure.
grew up, my grandfather would tell me about like Hank Greenberg
Hmm.
and being from Detroit and
Hmm.
some of those things. And then my dad taught me and gave me the love for sports. And, when you come into a really cool, unique restaurant, because we're not like your average Joe, you're coming into a mini Hall of Fame, you get great food, but then you can kind of sit and enjoy and take in what you're experiencing. Too often, you don't get to. One of my dad's favorite sayings is take time to smell the roses. When
Yeah.
you come into Matty G's, take time to look at the decor. There's a lot of preparation, a lot of time that's been into it. But you see gloves from the 50s. They're a lot different than the gloves of today,
Sure.
that people might use. Or you read about the Bears and how, you know, Ditka wound up tackling somebody and the guy and Ditka goes afterwards, hey, you okay? And the guy goes, yeah. He says, then why are you in our huddle? Get over there.
Oh
So
my
little
gosh.
stories like that, shows a different perspective on life than today's sports world.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is just have that family environment. We obviously do a lot. We're not a sit down white tablecloth restaurant.
Mhm.
We either are full service or fast casual, depending on the location. But normally the tables are under a tablecloth of, let's say, the Red Sox or Lions or whatever. So I had people years ago who went, I won't sit there when you're trying to sit them. I don't. Okay, you don't like Aaron Rodgers. All right, let's go. Nobody
Right.
hates Lions, so let's go sit over there. But it's just one of those where we are trying to create a sports feel, a sports vibe, and then obviously I believe our food is top notch. So,
Yeah.
it's a great experience, I think.
Tell me about the food. So, did you come up with with the recipes and stuff, or was your wife involved? I'd love to hear more about how you decided on the menu. Obviously, you love burgers and you probably like lobster rolls, but more than what you liked, how did you decide?
I always had a love for like a smash burger, like the Freddy's of the world or a Steak and Shake. And
Hmm.
so when we decided to go to the burger concept, I actually went to those restaurants and tried to look into the kitchens and try to see how they were doing it, did my YouTube videos and everything else. And we kind of, through a transition, there was one day, man, family, friends, we ate so much meat to try to figure out that first meat and the process of cooking it. I don't think we ate burgers for a week after. We ate so much, but it was a consistently evolving process. We're there now, but that's why we're able to franchise because it's dialed in. But we started the first like smash device we had. I had a construction company at the time, and we had uh, cast iron skillet kind of thing,
Hmm.
and we wound up making it out of a hammer as the handle, and my mechanic put it together, and that's how we smashed the burgers when we first did it. And it was a group effort. The menu has evolved. We always take in everybody's influence, but I have done most of the menus. I'm not a skinny kid, as you could probably tell from this picture. I love to eat, so it was a lot of those what burgers were my favorite as kids? What did
Right.
we try? And let's be real, I cook a lot. Sometimes you just sit there and you're bored. Hey, let's play with some ingredients. And we find some unbelievable burgers. My favorite, for instance, is the red card burger. And that was just playing around. And it's spicy ketchup, jalapenos, tomatoes, lettuce, one patty. Then we do a whipped cream cheese in the middle, another patty, and a grilled Ortega chili on top. It's got so much flavor. And it was just one of those where, hey, what about this? I love this, and that's how it comes about.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.